Welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we're going to be talking about the 2006 film Apocalypto. So Apocalypto follows young hunter Jaguar Paw as his village is attacked by an invading force. He's held captive and is taken into another Mayan city for human sacrifice. He's hidden away his son and his wife in a hole somewhere to kind of, keep them away from all the danger, as him and his fellow tribespeople have been enslaved. And this ends up with a pretty massive chase scene for the second half of the film as he makes his escape to reacquire his wife and son. This was actually the first time I had seen this movie. I remember when it came out, but I somehow just never got around to it.
You can't see them all.
Yeah. And I'm very happy that you suggested this. It finally gave me the push to throw it on and watch it. And I thought it was a really well-made movie, very well done. Love that they speak, at least as close as they can, the Yucatec Mayan language of the time, which, man, to make a movie that is, in a whole other language with a lot of non-actors. By the way, this stars Rudy Youngblood.
They used all real Mayans.
Yeah.
I mean, it really looked right.
Yeah, this movie, by the way, stars Rudy Youngblood as our protagonist, Jaguar Paw, and also Raul Trujillo, probably most recently seen in the movie Blue Beetle and that show The Mayans, as Zero Wolf, the kind of lead hunter soldier of the opposing force. I mean, I really like this movie. I'm probably going to watch it again very soon. It's a heck of a film.
He was almost too good looking to be like a native. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like he really was like built and, he had obviously never starved. Mm-hmm. But I'm really, really glad that you liked it that much. It's a great movie to watch, fun to watch. It really stirs the emotion. It's got all kinds of drama. And what I liked is the juxtaposition of two cultures. When you think of the Mayans in 1502, literally 4 years after Columbus, right? Mm-hmm. Or no, I'm sorry, 10 years. 10 years after Columbus this is. So you have the woodland people who are, they're living like the way you picture native Indians in a tribe in the woods, and they have their own technology and their own fun and everything. And not too far away, well, pretty far walk if you have to walk it, is a giant industrial Mayan culture that's completely urban. And when I say urban, I don't mean advanced. I mean totally corrupt and horrible and abusive. The place is crawling with slaves. They have like horrible mining and horrible farming, and they're beset upon by a giant crop plague. And they're just sacrificing human beings to the gods, hoping that the crop, because the culture depends on the crops. Mm-hmm. And the Mayans, people think of the Mayans, but it was really three geographic areas. So the farming area and the city area were not the same. Mm-hmm. There was like a giant floodplain area where there was agriculture, and then there was the mountainous where they made those pyramids. And it's interesting to me that they made pyramids all over the world. And why did humans do that? The expenditure of resources, and to this day, we don't know how the heck they did it.
Right.
Moving, 15-ton stones and thousands of them, and why? And if you wanted to be closer to God in the heavens and you wanted to be up in the sky, just climb a mountain. The idea that they made a mountain in the middle of town or something was just, it's inexplicable all around the world to me. Everywhere where this kind of thing exists, cities I can understand, housing I can understand, the commercial zone I can understand, but these religions that built these pyramids, the ones in Egypt, I can't even imagine what they were for and why they did. It's not like they built one, and it's not like they did it over centuries. You know what I mean? It's like, well, sure, they got this great thing, 300 years. No, it was while somebody was alive, like one king. Just amazing, absolutely amazing. And as you said, there's sort of two parts to it. The end part is this giant chase scene, but there's a beginning part where everybody's like happy and living in the jungle and they're having babies, and that's their focus, is having babies and living good. And they accidentally kill a jaguar in the jungle that attacks one of the people, and they all, we're sorry we killed your beautiful animal, your brother, It's kind of a beautiful life. And they tease each other. They're having fun. They're hanging out. It's a wonderful thing, really. Probably had a life expectancy of 22. But this is how they were living. And they're set upon by a force, by an army that's going to come in and enslave the whole village. And I really wanted to bring out to the audience that this is slavery. This is slavery, indigenous slavery. These are in the Americas, in Central America, southern Mexico, and that, just like in the Middle East, and just like in Egypt, and just like everywhere around the world, American Indian tribes had slaves, right? They would capture these people as slaves, and this particular group was to be sacrificed to the gods. So they do capture them, and they take them on the long march home, the Bataan Death March, right? They're tied by the neck. The man who captures them, who's in charge of the whole group, it's a commercial endeavor for him. He's going to sell the slaves. But one of the guards of the slaves is this incredibly sadistic guy who loves antagonizing them all through. And he doesn't care what happens to them, and the worse the better, and he's watching them suffer. And he's really horrible. Now they realize that they're going to be human sacrifices. It's getting worse every minute. But one of the captured men has been told by his father to never have fear. He says, fear is your enemy. Fear will creep into you and take over you, and never have any fear. And this is a thing in my own life, right? I get a letter from a government agency and, it shouldn't be that way. You're only weaker when you have fear. And so he tells his son, don't have any fear. So this guy is seeing horrific. He's in line to be sacrificed. But when the time comes for him to be sacrificed, there's an eclipse. And the high priest interprets that as, we've done enough sacrificing, they're happy. They're happy because they brought the sun back. So when everything goes dark, there's a prophecy that says this is going to happen. The crops are going to fail. The day is going to be like night. They're like, oh my God, the prophecy, and they're shaking, right? And then he says, please return the light to us. We love you. We understand you. Return, and the light returns. And he says, that's it. The sacrifices are over. And he's like, next. Then is my favorite part of the movie. They say, well, what do we do with the human sacrifice guys? And he says, we're going to use them for target practice. Take them out to the stadium and, throw spears at them and shoot them with arrows and have them run around and, use them for target practice, right? And they tell them at the end of the stadium, there's a dead cornfield because they're having a crop failure. And they said, if you make it through the dead cornfield, you're going to be back in the jungle and you will escape. And this is their motivation to run.
Right.
So guys start to run, but these people there are excellent marksmen, and they throw the spears and shoot the arrows, and they got a lot of misses, but they also lance them right through. It's really, really bad. And once again, we reviewed another movie where we talked about coming back from the dead, like you get shot, but you're not dead, and then you wake up and you have one more bullet in you. Well, the hero of the story, he gets hit, and when the guy is going to come to finish him off, one of the other guys who's been hit a long time ago kind of snaps out of it and comes just enough life left in him to grab that guy's ankle. He says, run, 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 and so he gets to run, and he begins the escape scene. Now, in the process of doing that, he kills the guy they have a man out in the field who finishes everybody off. When you get hit with a spear, he comes over and cuts your head off or some horrible thing. And this is the man who organized the attack and captured all these people. This is his son. He's got the honor of being out there to do the finishing shot, right? A dangerous place to be. There's arrows and stuff. So I wouldn't send my son out there. But somehow it's an honor, and he goes out there, and Jaguar Paw, in order to make his escape, he gets up, he's got a lance stuck through him, he kills that guy. Now the rich leader of the enslavers, he's got to get him. He's absolutely got to get him. And he gets a posse together, and they're on foot and running. And now Jaguar Paw has to run through the jungle, and these guys are chasing him.
And so now, he's on foot, and this begins this really massive chase sequence, which is kind of this whole final act or second half of the movie. And the first kind of big problem he comes into is he hides in the trees. Hides in the trees. They pass him up. But now what's up in the tree with him? a baby jaguar at first, a little
cutest
kid,
baby jaguar.
But that always that always means that the big one isn't far behind,
right?
And so here it comes up on him. So now he's got to run from this jaguar. But lucky for him, when they end up, I guess one of the guys in this posse, as you said, is kind of the tracker of the group. Who's nope, he didn't go this way. He didn't go this way. He sees the blood on the other dude. He's up in the trees. All right, spread out. We're going to get him. And he's running. And to his luck, one of these other dudes just happens to like catch up to him right for the jaguar to get him in a really well done, brutal jaguar attack scene where, this dude obviously gets shredded up and it takes the rest of the group to have to,
he's biting his face and everything.
Yeah, just ripping his face off, and takes the rest of the crew to dispatch this animal. And now a couple of them are starting to get pretty worried, right? Because, they have heard of this is a bad omen. And there's even a moment when they're all being marched to the city where they come across a little girl that's sick from some kind of plague. And she's saying this whole prophecy, the sky will be dark and there's going to be one person. And it's just, I don't remember all of it, but she basically lays out what's going to happen.
Let me interrupt you there with that. If any of you go on YouTube and watch YouTube videos of a magician called Sacred Rihanna, have you ever seen Sacred Rihanna? She is that little girl. Like she is she tells you like a horrible prophecy. And that little girl that tells them the horrible prophecy, that's a really heavy, spooky scene. That really could have been cut from the movie, but it was such a great part.
Yeah.
And they feared her.
Yeah.
Because she said, do you know how you're going to die? I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And one of the things was a man who runs with a jaguar.
That's it.
So he was running from him. But when they began to chase him, they got in between him and the jaguar got them.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry for interrupting you. Pick it up.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And, so that helps further his escape. And we get to this moment where he jumps over a waterfall and now he's in his territory, like their jungle where he grew up hunting and all that. So these guys are at the top and he delivers this great monologue where he's talking about, I hunted here with my father, his father before him, and so on. My son will hunt here. This is our jungle, our place. I'm not afraid of you. And he challenges them. Like, if you want to come, then you come and get me. And they're up there. And yeah, Zero Wolf is at peak rage now.
Right.
To away. And they're all right, let's go around. He's like, nope, we're not going around. We're jumping over this waterfall. We're getting this guy. And
that's like
such
a 200-foot waterfall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really dangerous.
And to the point where he kills one of his own men because he doesn't want to do it. And everyone really fears this guy. And I got to bring up the first introduction of him where he's the head dude, where he's got like...
Yeah, he's the alpha male.
Yeah, the animal jaw. And he's got the cool outfit and like human teeth on his shoulder, like a shoulder pad of human teeth. He just, he's a badass guy. And all these dudes fear him. They all, when he walks up to tell them something, they all kind of look down type stuff, And so they jump over.
One of my favorite moments was when somebody opposed him and he said, "Oh, you think something?" He starts taking off his body armor.
Right.
Like, it's like, no. We're doing it your way. We're putting everything back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You let them go. Don't let any more go. Yeah, so they make the jump over. Another one of their guys
head goes
goes
down on the rock.
Yeah, which I'm glad they portrayed that. I'm like, and if any movie was gonna do it, I'm like, I feel like they're being pretty real to an extent. To some extent, it's still a movie. But any other film, they're just jumping off waterfalls. It's all fine. But no, right here, some guy hits a rock and dies on the way down, and that's the end of him.
Everything they encounter, every obstacle, one of their guys dies.
Yeah, someone's going down.
Oh, we got a problem here. The snake gets them.
Right, yeah.
It's like, and everybody else goes, bad omen. They don't want to do it, but they got to do what the boss says.
Yeah.
So they're like, woo, and they're running full speed through the jungle in bare feet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, or very thin moccasins or whatever. They're not in combat gear.
It's wild to think of time periods of. I mean, there's still like crazy. I say crazy, but still tribes of people that are untouched and all that are out there. And we kind of talked about this in the "Gods Must Be Crazy" episode. Like landscapes that I would die in immediately.
They're good.
They're
totally good.
Yeah, and they're just running around. Yeah,
they're raising a family.
It's all good. Like, yeah, I wouldn't last 24 hours, but and he gets closer and closer to his village, and he said, you said, oh, the Rambo stuff happening, and that is exactly what I was thinking in this moment. This is total, man, when he's formulating his kind of plan of attack. Now he's really home turf. He's got to strategize and take the rest of these guys down. And he grabs that frog and he gets, the twigs and he just picking them a little bit. Yeah. And darts some dude to death with the poison from the frog. There's the hornet's nest or whatever. And he just chucks that
actually happens in a Rambo movie.
The hornet's nest? Or the poison darts?
Rambo covers himself with mud. He's covered with tar.
Yeah.
Right. He falls into the quicksand.
Right.
And when he crawls out, he's coated and he's like, all right.
Yeah.
He gets the thing and he wraps it in a great big leaf. So he's got it. Right. And then when they get within range, he's like, come on.
Yep.
Come on. There you go. There you go. He throws that. They're all getting stung and they're running around screaming. And meanwhile, he's running full speed, trying to get home miles and miles away. When you talk about that, the voyage of the dam there, when they were bringing these people into slavery, the scene that was heartbreaking was they captured all these people, but the little children they disregarded. And the little children are following along like, mommy, daddy, like, don't leave us, don't leave us. And they're staying with them, keeping up pretty good. But when they get to the raging river and they got to go across the river that's neck deep, the kids can't go.
Yeah.
And the one little girl says, they're all mine now. I'll take care. She's the oldest little girl of the group. She says, I'll take care of them. You go into slavery or whatever. Like, don't worry. We're good. We're going to make it, And you see the parents of the kids looking back and the tears in their eyes and everything. It's heavy duty.
It's all really heartbreaking. And there's one of the guys that is walking has a stab wound. This whole time he's just bleeding out. Oh yeah, and he's collapsing. And the sadistic dude you mentioned, keeps
he's drinking water,
whipping him, and telling him to get up. And eventually they throw him off the cliff and all that. And that's what led into that moment of challenge.
Right.
Let him go. But yeah, man. I mean, he's out there now. Getting to that guy, I think his name was Middle Eye, if I remember correctly. The sadistic dude who killed Jaguar Paw's father.
Right.
Because they were having a battle. He was about to get killed, Middle Eye, but then he gets rescued and they capture him, and Jaguar Paw makes the mistake because the leader, Zero Wolf, won't allow him to be killed because they want to sell him.
Right.
So Middle Eye's angry. Jaguar Paw, oh, it's okay, father. So now this other guy, Middle Eye, knows that's his dad. So what's the best way to hurt this man? By killing somebody he loves.
Right in front of him.
Yep, right on, just slits his throat. Yep, right in front of him. And immediately and I love just the subtext of all three of them know exactly what's about to happen. The way he says it, and Middle Eye looks at the father, and the father knows. You just see it on his face.
Tells his son, don't be afraid.
Yeah,
don't be afraid. And that takes the air out of that too, because as he cuts his throat, he's not cutting the throat of a frayed man, right? It's like, but he still does it, but he doesn't get the satisfaction. Yeah. And he calls Jaguar Paw. He says, you have a new name now. We're going to call you Almost. You almost killed me, and you almost were successful, and you almost, got away with me not killing your father. Almost, he calls him Almost for the rest of the story until finally he gets his. Yeah. And that's a good moment. I would have thought that final fight between the two of them would have been prolonged, and I'm kind of glad it wasn't. It stays on track with the reality of their situation. Like, you get hit in the head with one of those clubs once, you're not coming back from it. Right. And man, he wraps this guy up. Yeah, he uses their soldier's weapon. Yeah. Yeah, he gets that guy, and then he uses his weapon on him, And now, Zero Wolf's catching up to him. We're kind of in this final climactic moment. And earlier in the first scene of the movie, when they're hunting, we see that they have hunting traps set out. So this is established in the very first scene.
And with Jaguar Paw, knowing he's on his land, just leads this dude into one of these. This is a total Rambo thing, right? Like these branches that come up with spikes, and he just destroys this man.
Yeah, it was built to kill a tapir.
Yeah.
This great big animal. And,
and he gets him.
And then he can't even believe it. He's got the spikes in him. He's still fighting. He's like he's still mad. Like he's still, it's not like he doesn't like acknowledge his fate. He doesn't accept his fate.
Right.
The life drains out of him with him still in the fight right to the end. He doesn't go, oh my God, you got me. Not at all. He's full of hate, spitting mad. You know what I mean? And it's great the way he lures him into that, where he's the bait.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, come on. The tripwire and you see the bone fly out,
right?
And each one of those successful kills, his resourcefulness and all that. But even when he kills the boss, the other two guys now still continue to pursue. Yeah, and now it's raining, and now he to hide his wife from the marauders, he put her in the bottom of a well, and she can't get out of the well, and she's deeply into her 9th month. And so it's raining, the well is filling up, and she's got another child with her. Yep. So she's got the little boy turtle, and she's got to get out of there, but she can't swim and she can't take the kid and everything. It's just the rain. It's the drama is increasing. The urgency is increasing more and more. And to make matters worse, he's now taking an arrow in the shoulder, which he breaks off. So he, and so he's wounded again. He's got the initial wound, right, from the arrow when they're using him for target practice. Now he's got this. Still got to get his wife out of the well. And when the water is this deep, she delivers the baby right into the well water. And she pulls him up out, and he cries, and she holds him. Now she's holding the baby. Fortunately, it's probably nice warm rain. At least it wasn't freezing because, it's in the Yucatec, right? So she's got the little boy. She's holding the little boy. She's got the baby. And now he's going to get her out. He's going to send the rope down and all that. But he's got the exact sequence. Why don't you tell how the incredible.
Yeah. So he's got to deal with the final two guys that are living now. And right at this moment, they're on the shore. And we see in the distance, I mean, we don't see it for a moment, but they are all shocked. They're seeing something.
Right. All three of them stop running.
All three of them are just stopped in their tracks. And then, we move over and we see that the conquistadors are coming all on their little boats. They're about to roll up. And so these other two dudes just start walking towards them. They're
mystified.
This is amazing. Yeah. What are the ships?
It's like aliens landing from space for us.
Exactly.
These giant ships. I mean, there's nothing like that in their culture.
Yeah. So, Jaguar Paw gets to leave and get his wife out. And there's this moment where now they are, we never see what ends up happening with those two guys. They just kind of walk off. That's the end of it. But once he gets his wife out, he's got his kids, wife, and they're looking and they see them landing on the shore, and they make the decision to let's just go deeper into the jungle and not even interact with them. Let's just get out of here.
That's right. He's had enough of civilization and people and conquistadors and capture and everything. We were happy in the deep jungle, and he says, we'll go there and start a new life. Yeah. And he's got his family, his wife, his two sons, and we'll go deeper into the jungle. And that's actually the right decision. And he realizes who he is and who they are, and he knows who the hell they are, and he doesn't want any part of that. So that's the climax, and it's a beautiful thing to end that way with a philosophical ending. It's you belong where you belong. And he did not belong in a big city. He certainly didn't belong with these new strangers. And he knew that, and he wanted to have the peace and happiness of his former life. And I found that quite touching. Yeah. I really liked this movie. I give Mel Gibson a tremendous amount of credit for making this and making a movie that's in a completely another language, and staying true to that. And all the things in it were really believable. Everything, it was built, the guys that were painting the pyramids with the white chalk with their bare hands, and the one guy was throwing up blood like he had inhaled this white dust. Everybody in the mine was covered. The horrible scenes like that were, imagine making that scene. They sure did make it convincing, and They made the bureaucrats, the royalty and everything, the high priests and everything, they were all like fat and corrupt and like just, grotesque and, weird pampered women that were all made up and bizarre.
Right.
I couldn't believe the amount of piercing and tattooing and stuff that was in this. I don't know how authentic that was. Maybe I just don't know.
Yeah.
To what extent they all had these weird, piercings and you wouldn't think you would want something through your nose that had a dangling thing that could get caught
that
in
could
bushes.
be very vulnerable, make you very vulnerable, especially when there's a lot of hand-to-hand, combat or wrestling with
all
animals.
That ink, I mean, the blood poisoning possibilities or something like it must have. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know enough about the culture.
Yeah. But, and I will say on that note too, I mean, the filmmaking in this, and I just, they shot this all in Mexico in the jungles and I just think like
real Mayan indigenous people. I mean, everybody, they had the right hair.
Like a lot, and most, if not all, like non-actors. And man, do they all
a real skinny actor
put on a,
the real skinny guy that was holding them by the ankle going, save me, save me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. To think of the undertaking of going into the jungle and just shooting in those conditions for months and setting things out. And then the costumes, like when they get to this, like it's one thing in the village, but then when you get to the city and you're seeing like the different tiers of people, like the slave labor, the poor people, the ones like that are made up that you could tell are a little higher on the food chain, and the people at the top of the pyramid. Yeah, so many.
It wasn't like a priest and a priest.
Yeah. No, so many. Actually, it had to be like a couple hundred people at least. I mean, and that's just when I think of the costuming and makeup and all the effort and work that went into that.
It's like the Man Who Would Be King movie in that regard.
I was thinking too, because like they built out the village, like leading into the city and the pyramids, like they built all that for the movie, and it's kind of almost reminiscent of like when they would do the old silent film epics, you know what I mean? With the
like Ben-Hur.
Where they'd build all the crazy, sets and everything. It's very reminiscent of that. You don't see that these days to that degree, I mean, because now you can just build it out with
behind,
CG.
Those big pyramids and stuff. Like, I wonder,
It's an amazing film. I can't believe it took me so long to watch it, but it was only a matter of time, and I'm glad it finally happened. So thanks for making this a pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're ready to rate, I think I'll go 7.5 on this.
Yeah, I'm 8. Yeah. Once again, we're pretty close. And I think this is a must see. And only because it's really entertaining. It's really an entertaining movie. That's a little bit philosophical. There are moments, there are plenty of good like philosophical moments and stuff, but I think this is just the chase scene alone is hugely entertaining. It's as good as any chase scene. Is it like a James Bond thing or something?
Yeah, and to be on foot, we're not on cars, but it's just all on foot. And if I remember correctly, I think Mel Gibson said that it kind of, the genesis was that, like, I just want to do a good chase scene, and it kind of built up from there, like developing the story.
But they could have done the chase scene without so much big city, but the big city was hugely impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first thing when they first show it, and you're like,
this movie is quite the roller coaster, and it just has a little bit of everything: good character, drama, chase, action.
A character that was weird and sad was, there was a character in it who was a man who, his wife was not getting pregnant, and his mother-in-law was always chastising him. You're useless. You can't make a baby. Get in there. Take my daughter in there and make a baby and everything. And then at the end, when they captured everybody, they wouldn't buy her. She was useless. And they said, how about the old woman? It's like, no, she's of no value. Just let her go. She had no place to go.
Yeah.
No, so now she's looking at him. He's captured, the son-in-law. And she's looking at him and like he's all she has left. How she had antagonized him, but now he's leaving her, and now she's destitute, and her arrogance and her, how nasty she was and everything.
I was rooting for him to be. I had a feeling it was only going to be Jaguar Paw that would be like the sole person to make it out, but I was rooting for that guy too. I wanted him to. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's not going to make it, but I would like him to. And I mean, man, that's sad. Like just thinking back to the brutality of the raid on their village, and when they take his wife, and he's talking about how, you know, the next night at the fire when they're still tied up, about how, like, you know, the scream stopped. Like, and his wife was very fierce and trying to fight them off.
Yeah,
and
right.
She didn't just give in. Yeah.
A couple of minutes.
So they're like, yeah, like the scream stopped. So clearly, you know, they did what they did and they dispatched her. And when he's like, I'm willing to die. If that means I'm going to hell, you know, then I'm going to do what I got to do.
He says, this time tomorrow, I'll be with her.
Yeah.
He said, one way or the other, I will find out if she made it to heaven. He goes, I would be happy to go to hell just to know that she's not there.
Yeah.
You know, and oh man, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So anyway, I guess I'm ready to sign off. It was a real pleasure showing this movie to Rudy, and I hope I show it to a whole bunch of the rest of you who haven't seen it. I find it almost impossible to imagine that many of you haven't seen it, but if you haven't, see it soon. It was even, I saw it on Amazon. It was free.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Dang, I rented it.
So, yeah, well, you know, but that was kind of a cool thing. But anyway, Apocalypto, we'll see you next time.